Yo, what's up, people? This is Gary A. Swaby, and I'm here with Richard Bailey, and this is the Powercast episode 5. What's up, Rich?
What's up, Gary? What's up, everybody?
Yeah, that was a heck of an episode. We're talking about Power Season 3, Episode 5, which is called Help Me. It was a hell of an episode. A lot happened. Some very interesting and controversial stuff happened. So yeah, I'm gonna go through the recap as quick as I can. I'm just gonna focus on the main talking points of the episode, and then if I miss something, you can bring it up in the discussion because there's a lot to discuss. So I just want to get to the discussion part of the show. So the episode started up with Tommy scratching his window surface with his gun because he's very paranoid. He got shot at last week, and then, Holly comes in the room and tries to reassure him and remind him that they still have to get rid of Ghost because now they think Lobos is after them. And then it switches up to a scene where Jamie's in bed with Angela getting intimate, but Angela isn't really into it much. And he notices, and then, she gets a text to say, they're having a strategy meeting about Ruiz on the task force and stuff. So she leaves to go to work. And then Lobos is actually seen. He's been missing in the show for the past 2 weeks or so, but now he's back. And he's very angry that Ruiz is back as well as a witness. And, he's talking to Mike Sandoval and basically just shouting at him. He's basically telling him to get rid of this problem somehow, some way or another. And then Jamie calls his lawyer Proctor to ask him about a separation. Obviously, the plan is to get a divorce. Like, well, that's what Angela wanted, but he thinks, I guess because of the kids and everything, and because of what Tasha knows, he doesn't want a full on divorce, so he goes for separation. And yeah, so he talks to Proctor about that. And then we see in the strategy meeting, Greg kind of sways the task force to try and get Ruiz to give up the entire cartel, not just Lobos. Like he wants the entire drug trade, so even Ghost included. And obviously, Angela's in the meeting as well, and she's getting very upset about that. And they're basically playing chess with each other at this point. Um, Then Tommy's mum comes over to visit because, she needs her rent paid. Typical family member there. Yeah, so she comes over. She doesn't really get on with Holly that well. And then later she actually, starts to remind Tommy of the things that Jamie has done to save him and help him out and stuff like that. And then we see, there's a whole sequence of Jamie bringing Tariq to the club. He's forcing him to do some work at the club as punishment for, what he's done previously. But he promises that, if Tariq gets through the day of work, then he'll take him to the ball game. And then Proctor is actually at the federal building and they start to clear everybody out because they have a high profile witness coming in. And, as Proctor gets into the elevator, he sees that it's actually Ruiz. And, he sees Ruiz with Angela and the whole task force and everything. And he's like, oh shit. And then he calls Jamie to let him know what's going on and that Ruiz is back. Well, he doesn't call Jamie, he actually goes to see him, if I recall. So then later on, we see Greg having a one-to-one with Ruiz. And during that conversation, he tries to persuade Ruiz and put pressure on him to give up Ghost. And he basically alludes to the fact that he knows Ruiz has done some dirt, particularly with having that witness killed before. And then Angela visits Jamie, and she's finally confessing what happened with Ruiz. Ruiz coming back and being a witness, but Jamie already knows by that time, so he basically makes Angela feel kind of bad because she didn't tell him. She's very curious to know how he found out, and it's a very like tense scene. And you know, Jamie is like reaching out for Angela, and then she just walks away. So, kind of seems like there's a lot of tension there between them at the end of that scene. And then we see Dre return home after being at the club and showing Tariq the ropes. And when he gets home, Kanan is holding his daughter. It's a very terrifying scene, and it just brings out Kanan's character even more. Very, very interesting scene. I liked that. So yeah, Kanan is back in New York now, so things are going to get very interesting. Um, and then Angela has a one-to-one with Ruiz. There's a lot of Spanish talk here, and she basically persuades him to not give up Ghost. And then Lobos, actually he's talking with Sandoval again, and it looks like he's gonna testify against the other cartel to say that they were the ones that tried to kill him, and that they're actually associated with the drug trade and everything like that. And as Jamie is driving Tariq to the ball game, he actually, feels some sort of impact on the back of the car, and he gets out to investigate. And then, the Jamaicans get out of their car and they're holding up guns, pointing it right at Jamie. And at the same time, we see a scene where, Holly is at home with Tommy. The mum has already left at this point, and he's had an epiphany because his mum reminded him about Ghost and the things Ghost used to do. So he had an epiphany, and he spoke to Julio as well, and Julio actually said that it was the Koreans that did the shooting because they ended up dead or whatever. And yeah, Tommy has an epiphany and realizes that Ghost actually came to save him during that shootout. And at this time, Holly's they have a discussion about Ghost, and Holly actually confesses that she had the hit pulled on Jamie, and obviously Tommy's very mad about that. And then we go back to where Jamie has guns pointing at him, and luckily his bodyguard was watching the entire time, and he gets out and shoots up all the Jamaicans. His bodyguard actually has a crew with him as well. So yeah, Jamie is saved, and he gets back into his vehicle, and he makes sure to drive his son home. Like, he doesn't bother about the ball game after that. And then when we go back to Tommy and Holly, things get very intense. They have like a heated exchange. Holly's calling him names and shouting at him, and Tommy gets very emotional, and he physically puts his hands on Holly, and he goes too far with it, and she ends up dead. So yeah, very, very, very intense scene. And then Lobos, this is a very interesting scene, and I want to know where it leads. Lobos is actually on the phone to his soldier. I forgot the guy's name, and he's saying that he has something for him to do. I'd like to discuss what that could possibly be later. Then Angela comes home. Jamie's kind of he's in this thinking stance, like he's very terrified because of what just happened and everything. And she basically says that everything has worked out with Ruiz and Lobos, because Lobos is going to testify against the cartel and say that pin everything on them basically. And she says that everything worked out with Ruiz because Ruiz didn't give up Ghost. And Jamie actually shows her the separation documents. So they end up pretty happy, and they go to bed together. And Jamie, actually, he doesn't go to sleep. He's watching Angela to see if she's sleeping, and then he just decides to get up and leave and go to find Tommy. And he actually breaks into Tommy's apartment, which is funny. And Tommy's obviously sitting there very disturbed at what he's just did, and he asks Jamie to help him. And then we see they're at like a scrapyard or something like that, so they've gotten rid of the body. and they confess to each other. Tommy lets him know that Holly pulled the hit, and Jamie lets him know that it was him that shot up the Koreans, and they have a heart to heart. And then they talk about Lobos, and they both agree that they've got to go after Lobos and kill Lobos, basically. So yeah, those are basically all the major moments of the episode. I've missed out a lot, but so much happened in that episode. So yeah, Rich, what are your initial thoughts?
Well, first and foremost, going back to the very first scene, um, I definitely want to give a compliment to the people who shot this whole episode, the cinematographers as well, because the scene where Tommy has his gun and he's pushing it up against the window rather, that's a very graphic image. I mean, I looked at that. I was like, yeah, that's a very interesting way to open, but it was very intense, and it set the tone. I personally think, I know every week we say that the show is getting better, but I obviously think that this is an understatement this week. Yeah, there was a lot of things that happened. It definitely, the tension was filled throughout the whole episode. I mean, they had a couple of moments where it wasn't quite as intense, or it slowed down a little bit, but towards the second half of the episode, though, it's like, the tension was always there. You stay on the edge of your seats wondering what's going on. But yeah, let me try and think specifically about what, I mean, there's so much to address. So let's go ahead. Let's talk about, first and foremost, the most shocking thing in the episode to me was Tommy killing Holly.
Yeah.
I definitely didn't see that coming. I know that he threatened her in the past when they got into these really serious arguments. When I recall last season, she asked him to choose between her and Ghost. He obviously he was very, he was handcuffed at the time, so he couldn't really get to her. But you knew he wanted to choke her. So I was surprised he actually did it in this episode.
Yeah.
But I mean, listen, this is a character that I know a lot of people did not like this character. I have a lot of friends that have been watching this show. They said, they really hate this character. They dislike how manipulative, how just somebody you can't trust. So they felt like it was only going to get better after she was gone. And sure enough, as I know we've said already, somebody had to die to move the storyline forward. So that's what happened in this case.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see how people respond to, her death, because I know actually a lot of people wanted her to die. I remember reading Twitter last week after, last week's episode, and everybody was saying, oh, Holly needs to die, Holly needs to die, because of course she put out the hit on Jamie and everything. And, now it actually happened. I was like, whoa, okay. But like the way in which it happened was very dramatic, and I'm wondering if some people are going to have a problem with it because it's domestic abuse and all that stuff. A lot of people are sensitive when it comes to those sort of issues, so I'm wondering if people will have a problem with the way that she was killed. But yeah, definitely very intense scene, intense episode overall. Like very rarely does an episode have me that much on the edge of my seat, and very rarely does it actually like touch me like inside. Like the scene where Jamie gets out of his Jeep or whatever to investigate what happened. Like he looks back at Tariq. Like I really thought he might die. Like I knew he's the main character and everything, but like there was a moment there where I was like, wait, is he gonna die? Like
that would have been very shocking.
Like, wow.
And I think that if Stars did do that, nobody would see that coming. But then they also would be like, well, why should I watch now? The women will be like, this is one of the most attractive guys on the show. What is my reason to watch now?
Yeah, I mean, logically, it didn't make sense that he would die, but just the way that they set it up so perfectly that I felt like there was a chance he could die. Like
he was just out of his element. He didn't have any guns on him. It was totally unexpected that he didn't know that they were coming. But I will say this, man, them bodyguards are badass. That dude pulled out that gun and started firing away at these guys. It's like, oh damn, didn't miss. That's the kind of bodyguard I need. You know, whenever I go out and I have to deal with some individuals that may be coming after me. But yeah, they came. You know, they came right on time, which of course, you know, we could say that, okay, that's expected, but a bit cliche, you know, because, you know, in the movies and these TV shows, it's like, yeah, these guys always show up on time when you need them.
Yeah.
But in this case, that had to happen because, again, you know, the storyline with Ghost is not over. There's still so much more to explore, so it didn't make sense for them to just cancel this guy out just like nothing. I mean, he doesn't even know that Kanan is still alive, so you still have to address that also.
Exactly. Yeah. Like that's another thing we're forgetting. Kanan is back now. Jamie, like nobody knows. Only Dre knows, and obviously, he's he's manipulating Dre now. So, Dre is basically his man now at this moment. So there's no way for anyone to know Kanan is back unless he makes it known himself. So that's another obstacle right there that Jamie has to face at some point.
So my friend has a saying. This has been a popular song. I'm not going to use the censored version, but yeah, these hoes ain't loyal. and this dude, I understand in the moment you see your daughter is being held up, and it's like you lose all sense of being strong, being a man. You just like, oh, whatever you want, man, I'll give it to you, whatever you want. But come on, Dre, you can't just straight up. I mean, even if you have a moment of weakness, you should compose yourself afterwards when he puts your daughter down and puts her to the side, and then you go after this guy. But it's like when he saw 50 Cent, he was surprised. He saw Kanan, he's very surprised, and it's just like, I'll do whatever you want. Leave my daughter alone. He just got caught off guard by that. But that's unfortunate because
But see, the thing is though, like Kanan left after that, right?
Yeah.
So theoretically, like Dre can just go to Jamie and tell him what happened, and like have Jamie move him somewhere else. Like I'm sure Jamie would do that. I'm sure he would move his daughter and everyone like to somewhere else, like where they're safe. Because now he knows, like he knows that Dre is loyal to him, and he told him that Kanan is back. So theoretically, like he could get himself out of that situation if he wanted to.
Well, that's the thing. He could do that, but I'm not really sure what that character is going to do. I think because he's shook from Kanan, he's going to be like, well, I'm going to just have to listen to whatever he wants me to do because I don't have a choice. But yeah, he could get out of that if he really wanted to. There's nothing that says he has to align himself with Kanan. So that character is now going to be dealing with a lot of struggles, similar to, you could say, the struggles that Tommy dealt with in the beginning of this season, where he had to make a decision as to whether or not he was going to kill Ghost to protect Holly, or whether or not he was going to just not do anything and risk his own life. So I find it interesting how they passed on that dynamic of worrying on to now Dre, because that's probably going to be something he's going to be dealing with now for the rest of the season.
Yeah. And see, like, we have to look at what happened in this episode as well. And, Tariq spent the day at the club and he was kind of, bonding with Dre. Mm-hmm. So that right there is very dangerous because now Kanan could manipulate Tariq through Dre.
So. Oh, yes. That's why it's dangerous. We also still have the dynamic, as we talked about last week, how, Dre, his boys kept talking about hitting up that club. And, now that also may be utilized to some degree, that they may, Kanan may have them try and do that as well. I still feel like something is going to happen with the club because you have to raise the, if you really want to hurt Jamie, you have to attack him on many fronts, not just the stuff with the family, but the club as well, because the club symbols what he was changing into. He was trying to clean up his life. Now he can't really do that because he's going back in trying to get rid of Lobos. But it's a lot more to it than just that. And then, of course, one of the biggest things in which I know we definitely have to discuss is the lengths that Angela went to protect Ghost.
Yeah, she showed a little loyalty though.
That right there is I mean, I don't know about you, but when I saw the scene when she told him that he was clear, he was free, I felt that there was a lot of significance in that scene. And I think that that is especially significant because now you have the illusion to think, okay, they're going to have a perfect happy ending now. You know, obviously, you know, Jamie is not going to tell her about his attempt to get Lobos. So they will probably try to get Lobos and be successful at that. And then you could think that they will ride off into the sunset and everything is okay. But the whole thing about it is that that scene was so dramatic. She says that to him. You know how much she did just to try to make sure that they would stay together, that they would be free and clear. I think that, you know, obviously there's going to be a lot that happens from that. And I said, like I told you off air before we started recording, I really do think that part of you know, Kanan's plan to, you know, really just destroy. I know he wants to make Ghost suffer. I would not be surprised if by the end of this season he kills Angela, because again, it feels as though the relationship is perfect. There is nothing else that can distract them. Obviously, we have to see what happens in the next episode in regards to their attempt to take down Lobos. But I just feel like that right there, he's definitely going to do something because he wants Ghost to suffer. He doesn't want to just kill Ghost. He wants him to suffer. So that means messing with the family, messing with his woman, and messing with the club. If he does all three of those things, well, yeah, you would definitely make sure that he does suffer.
Yeah,
So,
that's definitely an interesting theory. I think something else will go down, but first of all, let me say I thought Angela was gonna finally crack this episode and, like, you know, cut it off with Jamie. But you know, when she went in to talk to Ruiz and she started speaking Spanish and all that stuff,
mhm.
I actually fell in love with her in that moment.
Oh,
Like
whoa,
I was
hey,
like because she's like a ride or die chick, you know, like that was a great scene for her, I think. But what I think's gonna happen though is like you alluded to earlier, I think, you know, I mean, now Jamie's back with Tommy and everything, so he's kind of going back to his old ways. But I think you're right about him losing the club. I think something's gonna happen to the club, and it's gonna be like there's gonna be no more club truth after that. Like it's gonna be completely gone. Jamie's going to completely lose the club. That's what I think is going to happen,
oh
and
yeah,
he'll be forced to get back into the drug trade if that happens. And I think that's basically going to split him and Angela up for good.
oh yeah,
Um,
yeah,
and I don't think she's going to die. I think there still needs to be a task force because that needs to be a threat. You know, there's always got to be a threat if you're going back to your older ways and dealing drugs. Like, there's always going to be a threat of, you know, the police and stuff like that. And she's going to be like a pivotal part of it, I think. So I think that they're just going to separate and break up at some point. But you know, I wouldn't. At this point, I can't be surprised if she does end up dead. If Kanan does end up getting to her, because
yeah.
you know, like I say, like things change so, you know, so significantly every week. Like I always have
Oh
my
yeah.
predictions on what's going to happen, and they always end up surprising me. So yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if that happened.
Oh yeah, no, you're absolutely right about things changing because I don't think anybody would have predicted that Holly would get killed. And you know, and maybe they figured that something would happen to the character eventually, but they didn't figure it was gonna happen that fast.
Yeah, this is like halfway through the season, and she's dead. Like that's crazy.
Oh yeah, well that probably possibly was you know, to intentional, you know, to signify that it is halfway, that we are halfway at the halfway point. Um, but you know, one thing I definitely did want to say about this episode is that you know, a lot of fans have been, you know, you and me included, we have been waiting for Tommy and Ghost to come to a resolution.
Yeah.
And you know, they did a great job building that up because, you know, characters didn't really see each other until, you know, maybe around the second or third episode. So, and they never really had a conversation about stuff. You know, it was always, you know, just you know, trying to talk around the issue instead of about the issue. So I feel as though I was very glad to see that. You know, that was a very great moment to witness Yeah, they said we'll get them together. That was awesome because you want to see these guys are like brothers. You wanted to see them work out their differences and take down this other guy because I'm not going to say that Lobos is not powerful, but to me this guy looks like for right now he looks like a cookie cutter boss that can be taken down just like that. He has he has his bodyguard. These guys protected him. They obviously are more of a threat than he is, I would say, because he is not. I mean, in his current state, I don't think he's just going to get up and just shoot somebody or try to stab somebody or stuff like that. I mean, this is just a guy who has other people working for him. To me, Kanan, totally different. That is a volatile, very dangerous character. I would say more dangerous than Lobos at the moment, but I could be wrong. Maybe they'll make Lobos look like a badass in the next episode. But to me, I think this is a guy they could easily dispatch of if they come up with a great plan, and then they can worry about what else is next because neither one of them know that Kanan is still around. So it's going to be very interesting to see what happens when that dynamic comes to a head.
Yeah, I mean, I guess that's going to be a lot of the entertainment moving forward, figuring out, how exactly they're going to go about killing Lobos, because there's a lot of obstacles there. Because obviously at this point, Lobos is heavily guarded because he's in custody basically. So it's going to be difficult for them to get to Lobos. And I'm thinking maybe Jamie might even try and use Angela to try and get to him, but who knows? I guess something we gotta find out.
But if he does that will backfire because if he tries that, that's definitely gonna backfire because you.
I guess he can use a Proctor as well.
Oh well, yeah, he could do that, but he gonna have to. There's gonna definitely be some consequences if he doesn't do it correctly, or if he is successful, it's definitely gonna be consequences because I know that there's a lot that could happen with that whole situation. But we have to see how all of that turns out. I definitely think there was a lot that happened in the episode, though. There's definitely a lot of activity, and that always makes for a great episode in general.
Yeah, I mean, speaking of Lobos as well, he had that very vague phone call near the end, and he was talking to his soldier. I really can't recall the dude's name at the moment, but shout outs to him though because he's following us on Twitter. But, yeah, that was a very vague phone call, and I think that might be Lobos trying to actually get at Ghost again, finally, or even Tommy, because surely he knows by now that he hasn't done the job of killing Ghost, so he might be actually making the call to get rid of both of them. Who knows?
Well, that's exactly to me. That's exactly what that call is. But the thing is this: he also knows that Angela has something with Ghost. So if they don't go the route of trying to go after these guys, he could just try and do something to put Ghost in a precarious situation where now he has to try and protect Angela from this. Because I do recall Sandoff telling him that Angela is messing around with Ghosts. So that is going to definitely be interesting to see what exactly that is. But yeah, he's definitely going after both him and Tommy because he knows that Tommy didn't do the job, obviously. So it's going to be interesting to see how that comes to a head. Of course, I still pick Team Ghost and Tommy no matter what. I'm not threatened by Lobos, so
yeah,
I look forward to seeing them take them down. But there's going to be a lot of things that happen after that because again, they have to deal with the whole Kanan situation, and that is going to be a major issue. Not to mention Jukebox, who wasn't in this episode, but I'm pretty sure that she came back with him to some extent. I don't think that's out of the question. And if she didn't come back with them, she'll be around at some point sooner or later, just to make sure he has backup in case things go south again, like they did in the finale last season. So we'll see about that.
Yeah, I definitely think we'll see more of that character. Man, I had something else I was gonna say. I can't remember right now. There was something else I wanted to talk about. Uh, it will come back to me in a sec. But is there anything else you wanted to raise?
Um, Let me see. Yeah, I mean, so much.
I remember. But yeah, go ahead.
Oh no, you go ahead first.
Yeah. So I mean, what do you think's actually going to happen with Ruiz moving forward? Because the thing is, you know, he agreed to testify against Lobos, but now Lobos is actually going to testify against the other cartel and stuff like that. So I mean, what's actually going to happen at this point?
Well, that's a very good question. Um, I mean, I didn't think about it. I didn't think about it, but that call could have also been, yeah, okay, we need to take out Ruiz now.
Yeah,
You
that
know,
yeah, it
because I
could
know
be that.
he was very surprised to hear that this guy was back. That was the most time I've ever seen him scared. So yeah, that's a very good question. I do think that eventually Ruiz is going to meet up with Ghost again. They have to have a bit of a reunion, him and Tommy as well, just to clear the air. I don't know if he's going to just straight up go back, because the thing is that because he decided to get involved in this now, I think unfortunately something may happen to that character moving forward.
Yeah, he's very disposable at this point. I could see him possibly dying
Yeah,
somehow.
yeah, because and the thing is, like, he did everything he needed to do. He didn't jeopardize he didn't give up Ghost or any of that other stuff. So I do think something may happen to him, unfortunately, but we have to see. Yeah, it all to me, it's all hinges on what happens with this plan that Ghost and Tommy put together. Whether or not they're going to be successful with this plan, because if they aren't successful, well, it won't be good for somebody. It's a matter of who. But we'll have to find out exactly who that is at a later time, next week, hopefully.
Yeah. I mean, what's gonna happen with Tasha? Because like at this point, she's been like that kind of figure that goes between everybody. Like, you know, she's like everybody's friend right now. Like she communicates with Ghost, she communicates with Tommy, she communicates with Angela sometimes. Like, you know, she's like the glue keeping people together at this point. But what's in store for her moving forward at this point? Because
Well,
obviously she's gonna realize that Holly's not around now, and I think, you know, she's gonna be the one to actually tell Tommy that she was pregnant. Because,
yep,
you know,
that's what I was about
remember,
to say.
yeah,
Yeah, you just said it right there. I think, well, first and foremost, I did see that she was starting to build a bond with Holly. So now that is just, dead with no hardly any explanation. Perhaps Tommy will explain in the next episode what happened, but that's definitely going to rub her the wrong way that happened. At the same time, though, I think she definitely is going to tell Tommy, and I think that actually may impact Tommy in a negative way, because Tommy now knows that he needs to focus on taking out Lobos, but there's no doubt about it. The character will never be the same again, because he was the one that killed Holly, and now if you know that she was carrying your kid, well, that's going to make it even more devastating. He may have a falling out after all of this is over with, because he never really had time to process what actually happened.
yeah,
It's like all just thinking about, okay, now the next thing we got to take out Lobos. Didn't really have time to digest any of the things that he was involved in. So that may cause some issues later. But as for Tasha, I think it's going to be interesting. Maybe she will help them, in some capacity. I'm not sure what's going to happen with that. We just have to wait and see. But obviously, she's still working with Tommy to some degree. Um, so I think that she is going to help in some way to try and make sure that they resolve this issue with Lobos, because I'm pretty sure she doesn't want Lobos coming after her family or her or any of the other people. And maybe just maybe, you know they will let her know about Lobos, to the extent to let her know why he is a threat and why we need to take him out. for that reason to get her on board. So I don't know. Maybe that's what will happen, but we'll have to wait and see what actually happens.
Yeah, I think initially, like once she realizes that Holly's not around, I think at first Tommy's gonna lie about it. I think he's gonna say that they had a fight and then Holly left, but then eventually, like I mean, Tasha probably has her number by now, so she might, try and reach out to Holly and then not get a response, and then she'll know that something is up eventually, and then I guess at some point she's gonna confront Tommy, and then that's when she'll let him know that she was pregnant, basically.
Oh yeah.
So I think this whole thing might be prolonged a few more episodes before he finally knows that she was pregnant and Tasha finally knows that she's dead and stuff. So
that's a good point. That's not. I don't think that's going to be a good reaction when Tommy finds that news out. Then we'll have to see how that goes.
That kind of feels like a revelation that might happen towards the end of the season, kind of thing. But who knows? Like, you never know what's going to happen on Power these days. So but it could happen next week. Who knows?
But even when that happens, it's like it's not like he can't get revenge on anybody. And the only person, he could maybe that will make him feel a certain way towards Tasha in that relationship, because he'll be like, well, you knew about this and you didn't tell me. Well, no, she was supposed to tell him though. His woman was supposed to tell him. So I don't. But I mean, I think either way, I think when he finds out, it's not going to be a good. That definitely might send him over the edge. But we have to wait and see how they play that story, because it's going to be devastating to him. But we just have to see how it all plays out.
Yeah, Tommy's a very unstable person, so I'm sure that's going to mess him up psychologically once he knows.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, unless you got anything else to talk about from the episode, I guess we'll wrap up and give our ratings for the episode. Anything else you wanted to bring up?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm pretty much all set. I just would like to say to Stars, thank you for allowing us to cover these episodes. But also to say that the episode was fantastic. Like I said, there's a lot of compliments that I would give for the way that it was shot. The storyline, again, you never know what's going to happen week in and week out. So I definitely want to commend them on putting together an awesome show. We also probably should mention that, for those that don't know, the show has definitely increased in ratings. You already know that it was approved for a 4th and 5th season. So that goes to show the quality of the show. Plus, it's on a Sunday night, and that to me is a feat that they definitely should be proud of. I remember when the show used to be on a Saturday night. The Sunday, I think, is a better time because a lot of people are getting ready for work the next day. So they're already at home. Whereas Saturday, they could be out partying or doing whatever. So they're not going to be at home watching the show. So I definitely think it's glad to hear that the show is doing extremely well, and looking forward to continuing covering each episode.
Yeah, and as a matter of fact, Power is the top viewed program on premium cable since season 3 premiered on July 17th. So, yeah, it's official. Like, that's a huge merit right there. So shouts to Courtney and 50 Cent and everybody involved in producing the show.
Actually, you know what? Let me go say something real quick. I definitely like how 50 trolled people last week. The last episode, talk about, he saw his little 50 on TV. So I definitely want to commend him on that. The trolling is just an all new level of trolling from him from that, because we already know damn well that none of that stuff was seen. And no, I'm not going to rewatch the episode to confirm that. I already know this guy is trolling. So
well, I actually don't know, because to be honest with you, like I actually like when that scene started to happen and he was touching himself, I kind of looked away. So I don't even know if like
well, hey, listen. I'll say this for the women that saw the episode and specifically were paying attention to the scenes like that. You can let us know in the comment section if he was telling the truth or if he was trolling. Because as I said, I'm not going to rewatch the episode to confirm that. Pause. I'm not doing that. But yeah,
Yeah.
I thought that was funny. That was a little funny exchange on Instagram, and but with all due respect to promote the show is fantastic. So people definitely need to watch it.
Yeah, it's like everybody's watching the show. Like everybody watches it. Literally everyone. Like I saw a video of Snoop Dogg threatening 50 Cent if he doesn't put him on season 4. Like it's crazy how big this show is getting. So
Hey, I would love to see Snoop on, but we'll see about that.
yeah. So what's your official rating for episode 5?
Oh man, last week I think I gave the last episode a 5. If it was any possible to go higher than a 5, I would. But because of all that happened in this episode, because of the fact that there was so much tension, and then we had the shock of Holly's death, I think it definitely deserves a 5. I mean, there were so many great moments in the show, plus you finally see Ghost and Tommy get back together again. I mean, to me, that was just awesome. So I have to give them a 5 again. Please, they gotta mess up a few of these episodes, so I don't have to always give it a high score. But we'll see what happens.
Yeah, like it's crazy because last week was such a great episode, and a lot happened in that episode. But it's somehow this week they managed to top themselves. So it's
Yes.
I just can't believe like they managed to top themselves that much. Like and it was in a major way as well. So yeah, I gotta give it a 5. I'm gonna give it a 5 plus. A 5 plus, just something a little extra, because it was a phenomenal episode.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
I don't know how they'll be able to top themselves next week. I'm expecting a filler episode next week, to be honest with you, because like
Yeah.
I just don't know how like it's hard to believe a show could get so better, like so much better consistently.
I think you'll definitely get a filler episode because there was so much tension in this episode in particular. It's like you have to calm the audience down a little bit, but there may be something maybe towards the end of the episode, then it will start picking up again and bleed over into the next episode afterward. You never know, but yeah, it's definitely absolutely positively deserve props on how they always make this interesting every single week.
Yeah, for sure. All right, yeah. So that's our recap of Power season 3, episode 5. So definitely leave your comments down below, people. We're interested in hearing what you guys have to say about the episode, especially such a phenomenal episode. Let us know what you think of Holly's death and what's going to happen next and everything. And we thank the people who commented on last week's show
Mm-hmm.
as well. Good
That
to
was
hear
awesome.
from people. So yeah, that's it. We're out for now.
Yes. Peace.
Peace.